Hey, this is John from Alloy 211. Today's video is on the Ruger Super Redhawk Alaskan in 44 Magnum. Now you'll also notice there's a Ruger Vaquero here in frame. That's partially just to frame the shot better. I think it looks a little cooler, and also because we're going to be doing some comparisons between the two. But for now, for all intensive purposes, just ignore the Vaquero. Ignore the Vaquero, focus on the Ruger Super Redhawk Alaskan. It was originally introduced in 2005, is conceived by Ruger President Steve Sinetti, intended for defense against dangerous animals. And I guess you can probably tell that by the fact that it's called the Ruger Super Redhawk Alaskan, where, you know, there are quite a few bears. If you didn't know that, there are a lot of bears in Alaska. Yeah, go figure. I've never been there myself, but I've seen quite a bit about it. And I'm pretty sure that the bears there do eat people occasionally. Not that often, but it does happen. Anyway, back to the firearm. Not bears eating people. Although we may touch on that here in a bit. Okay, the Ruger Super Redhawk Alaskan is a double action, single action revolver. Like I said, it was originally introduced in 2005 as for defense against dangerous game, which if you're going to try to defend yourself with a handgun against, say, a bear or some animal like that, you're going to want to carry probably a big bore firearm, because when it comes down to it, you know, you could carry, say, let me get this out, make sure it's empty. You could carry, say, a Glock like this 9mm. Now, when you think about a bear and the size of a bear, well, this is a 9mm round. Let's get some light on that. 9mm round, compared to a 44 Magnum round. Now, if I'm going to have to shoot an animal as big as a bear to try to stop it from eating me, given how large it is, I don't know, even if I put 10 of these 9mm in it, if it's going to have the same impact as just, say, 5 or 6 of these. But I know I would trust my life a lot more to this round in that case than this round, even if this round is a round that I would use, say, just for daily carry, because, well, you're defending yourself against a different set of animals. And I don't live in Alaska, so I don't really have to worry about bears. Even as wild animals go, it's not really something I need to consider. So, anyway, it's got a triple lock cylinder, being that it locks in the front and the back and the bottom. It has an extended frame with extra metal in the top strap, sidewalls, and the barrel. It comes with a Hogue Tamer grip, and it also has recoil absorbing inserts inside the grip. Let's see. And it's also dual chambered in 44 Magnum and 454 Casull. In the 44 Magnum, you can also use 44 Special, and in the 454 Casull, you can also use 45 Colt. Now, one of the things I really noticed when I first picked this gun up, and one of my buddies let me borrow this. This is not actually the gun I was borrowing from him. I was borrowing a rifle from him that I'm going to do another video on. But he asked me if I wanted to go ahead and borrow this and maybe do a video on it. And I said yeah, because obviously you don't want to turn a cool offer like that down. But I didn't really have anything intended for it. But then once I got it home and I took it out of the case and I started handling it, I realized how nice of a firearm this is. Now granted, the MSRP on this firearm is $1,189, so it is a pretty premium handgun in many respects. It has adjustable sights in the back, a pinned front sight that you can take out. It's basically like a GP100, any other Ruger double action, single action revolver with the button release back there. Big massive cylinder, and we'll actually get into a little bit more on this here in a minute. And it's got a lot of heft, and this grip in your hand it honestly fills it really nicely. And when you take this and put it in a shooting stance, it just really seems like it'd shoot really well. And this is one of the unfortunate things. I get to borrow it to do a video, but I'm not going to get to shoot it. And not every gun that you say handle or borrow do you immediately feel like, man, I would really like to shoot this, because this gun just feels like it would handle so well. You know, it is a big, heavy recoiling cartridge, and it's a short barrel. It's only a 2.5-inch barrel on this, but it weighs 45 ounces. And here's a bit of a comparison between that and the Vaquero, which has a barrel that's about 2 inches longer, it weighs around 40 ounces. So it's really significantly lighter than this gun, with the shorter barrel. But that heft really makes you feel like when you're going to shoot it, it's not going to come flying back. It's really gonna, it feels like it's going to have a softer recoil impetus than what you would expect from such a heavy, you know, generally heavy recoiling round. And if you look, well, let's see if we can get the light on there, get you a look down the barrel. Yeah, never do that. I mean, never point a gun at your face. I am not pointing this at my face. I am pointing at the camera, which is quite a bit of an angle away from my face. Just, you know, and as a side, you always want to tell people about safe gun handling, like not putting your finger on the trigger. But as you can see, if you can see, that barrel crown on there, that's just, it really looks like a well-made barrel. Everything about this firearm, the fit, the finish, the material, it is well-made. And I can't really complain about it at all, other than the fact I won't get to shoot it. Now, I did notice some interesting things between the 44 Magnum and the 44 Colt, or 45 Colt, 44 Colt, 45 Colt cylinders. And this was just of my own interest, because when I opened this up and I saw how really big, or how much material there is in between the rounds in the cylinder, I thought, I don't think my 45 Colt has anywhere near that much material. And I'm going to have to talk about the Vaquero just a tad bit here for a second, because this is a Vaquero, not a new model Vaquero. The new model Vaqueros they made slightly smaller after 2005. It's got the grip frame's smaller, and the cylinder itself is actually somewhat smaller, so they have less material. But this is a Vaquero. Some people call it the old model Vaquero, but that's kind of not accurate, because when you're talking about Rugers and single actions, and you say old model, that makes them think of pre-transfer bar old model Rugers. And the Vaquero didn't come along until after those had all been, that had all transpired and wasn't an issue anymore with these. But anyway, when I opened up that cylinder, I started looking at how much meat is in between those cylinder walls. Try to get ones kind of lined up here. Compared to the 45 Colt, it just looks a lot beefier, and even to the outside of the cylinder. And it made me think, well, how much of that is actually the difference in the cylinder being bigger, and how much is just the difference in the rounds for the 45 Colt being bigger? So I went and took some measurements. Let's set that there so you can see it nicely. Set that there. The 45 Colt round, the cartridge case is 0.47 in, well, maybe this is a better way to do it, 0.47 in diameter, around there, or around that circumference, in diameter across there. And the 44 Magnum round, which this is actually from a keychain I had for years and it broke off, and it's the only 44 Magnum round I have to use to show you. Anyway, the 44 Magnum cartridge case is 0.45, so that's 200 smaller than the 45 Colt. And then when you look at the difference in the size of the cylinder wall, well, let's start with the cylinder itself. The cylinder on the Alaskan measures at 1.77 in diameter, whereas the cylinder on the 45 Colt is 1.72, which is actually pretty close. You know, that's really a little less than a 1/16 of an inch of difference, so that's not really a whole lot. But when you take into account the diameter of the round, or the casing, the casing, cartridge, compared to the 44, that actually makes a significant difference, because the cylinder, the sidewall gap between the rounds on the 45 Colt is just 0.06. It's just a 1/16 of an inch. Whereas on the Alaskan, it is 0.087. So it's almost 3/32. And so it's really significantly thicker when you think about, given the small, the small size of this. I mean, that doesn't seem like a lot of material, but given how small this is generally, that's a lot of material. And then you have the extra bit on the outside, where from the side of the chamber to the outside of the cylinder, the Alaskan measures 0.11, which is almost 1/8 of an inch, The Vaquero only measures 0.076, so that's quite a bit smaller. So I mean, it kind of makes sense that this cylinder, although it's almost the same size and diameter, has smaller walls, but it also explains why this looks so beefy. Now, this I would have no qualms about shooting pretty much the hottest 44 Magnum loads you would probably want to load. Not to say that you should do that, and I do not recommend it, and you should always stick within whatever the established pressures for a cartridge are. But I'm just saying this is a beefy cylinder. And now this Ruger Vaquero cylinder is still of the older, what you consider beefy design of these, and I would feel comfortable shooting the Ruger loads out of this, but in the same stroke, I would not trust this cylinder as much as this cylinder. So that's just something I found interesting about the two. And the weight difference is, I found interesting and significant. And part of it's not just that, it's also, you know, the design of the gun. Obviously, this is a bird's head grip. It's not going to have the same tight grip as this. It's a totally different gun, so obviously it's going to feel very different. But the weight and really the balance of it, because really this feels, it's heavy, but it really feels like a lot of the weight is back here. And this is something else I found interesting when I was looking stuff up about this, is that the Alaskan in 44 Magnum weighs 45 ounces as opposed to the one in 454 Casull, it weighs 44, and the one in 480 Ruger weighs 44 ounces. And I kind of thought about it, and this may not be where all the weight difference is, but when you think about, they use the same cylinder, I'm sure, but it's been bored out more, so it's more like this cylinder than the Vaquero. Thus, you have less material, and you could, maybe that might be an ounce worth of material by opening up these cylinders to 0.47 instead of 0.45. I don't know for sure if that's all of it. There might be some more that changes the weights on them, but that would make sense. Anyway, like I said, my only qualm about this firearm is I'm not going to get to shoot it. The owner says that it shoots great, and I believe him. Hopefully one day I'll get the chance to shoot it, and then maybe we'll do a video on that, see what it'll do to maybe a watermelon or a pumpkin or some other sort of fruit that, you know, works well for being shot like that. I got so hung up on fruit there for a second, I almost forgot to tell you something else that I'd read, which was that there's a report out of Alaska in 2009 where someone with their Ruger Super Redhawk Alaskan in 454 Casull stopped a charging brown bear. I believe it said they fired 5 shots, 4 of them hitting the bear, and I believe the 5th shot missed. You can look it up. I saw it in one of the things I was reading about it. And I thought that that was an interesting testament to the firearm, that yeah, that's what it's designed to do, and at least in one case it seems to have done that. So I don't know if that validates its purpose, but it does seem like it'd be a fun handgun to shoot. And at a price point of $11.89 retail, that's pretty high, but you might be able to get it cheaper, although I don't really think you're gonna find it a whole lot cheaper. And it is a very nice firearm. Anyway, if you liked the video, go ahead and hit the like button. If you found it informative, you know, hit the like button. If you know more about this gun, or you own this gun and you like this gun, or you don't like this gun and there's something you don't like about it, go ahead and comment below. If you like some of the other videos I've posted, go ahead and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks for watching, and I hope you have a good day.